All right. Welcome back to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Just kind of reflect on what we talked about here. We talked about WWE SmackDown review. We talked about our Monday Night Raw preview. We also talked about how WWE PLEs are moving to Sundays during UFC Fight Night Saturdays. So let's go and move on with our next topic. We're going to talk about our Monday Night Memorial. So let's go ahead and dig right on into it. All right, here we go. So we're going to start with Owen Hart. Owen Hart is absolutely one of the most respected wrestlers in WWE history, wrestling wide. There's a couple of things that I did not know about. So let's go ahead and start from the beginning. His name is Owen James Hart. He was born May 7th, 1965 in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. He was a Canadian wrestler, definitely one of the most respected wrestlers in the world of WWF, professional wrestling industry, World Championship Wrestling, New Japan Professional. He's kind of been all over the place. Like I said before, he's worked with Stampede Wrestling, WCW, WWF, and New Japan Professional Wrestling. He was formerly known as the Blue Blazer. That was kind of his kind of his name when ultimately he kind of had his passing. He was kind of like this superhero that said no, like trying to keep his identity intact. I was like, no, I'm not Owen Hart. What are you talking about? I'm not Owen Hart. And then kind of like a Bruce Wayne kind of thing that he would never, or Clark Kent, never ever reveal your status because you can create a lot more enemies. So definitely love Owen Hart for kind of being a little goofy, kind of in terms of that. He was, like I said, he was a member of the Hart Foundation. Jim the Advent Hart. You saw Bret Hart and him definitely rule over WWF for the longest time. So Stampede Wrestling promoters, Stu and Helen Hart, those were his mother and father. He's a one-time USWA Unified World Champion, two-time WWF Intercontinental, one-time European Champion, also a four-time WWF Tag Team Champion. And he was also the 1994 King of the Ring. So that's what, 30 years ago. So on May 23rd, 1999, at WWF's Over the Edge event, we had equipment lowering him, malfunctioned, and he fell to his death live on pay-per-view in Kansas City. He had a great feud with his brother, Bret Hart, in the past. He ultimately felt like he was overshadowed by Bret Hart, which, kind of would be kind of hard to kind of have this going here because you have, the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, in Bret Hart. It's so hard to kind of, maintain a balance with Bret Hart there. Definitely, kind of crazy. But Owen Hart definitely was a, great father, great wrestler, great person all around. I guess definitely one thing about him, which is kind of the reason why people respected Bret Hart a lot, was his ability to kind of take care of wrestlers inside of the ring. A lot of the times there's other, wrestlers that botched moves that could ultimately cost you your whole entire career. But Owen Hart wasn't one of those wrestlers. He cared about his coworkers. He cared about the well-being for them, for, in terms of like their professional careers, their families, and just their overall physical health or, mental health and that, because wrestling's a grind. These guys travel year round. These guys don't get an off season like baseball. They don't get an off season like football, basketball, hockey, you name it. These guys wrestle constantly worldwide, all around the clock. So, definitely got to respect Owen Hart in that, in that face. So you had Owen Hart was fed up with Bret Hart because of the incident that happened in a tag team match in Survivor Series where they bumped into each other, causing the loss. So the moment the two kind of smoothed things over, where Bret Hart got them, a couple of tag team championship title shots. Bret hurt his knee in one of the matchups and was unable to compete. Owen Hart absolutely snapped, kicked Bret Hart's knee, absolutely antagonized the whole situation, creating this new kind of heel and just like mocking his injury and stuff like that. Like kind of just playing to it absolute T. Owen Hart could really do it all. He's definitely one of the best wrestlers to kind of do it as a heel and as a babyface. So I thought that was super cool. Like I said, the two fought at WrestleMania 10 when Owen Hart won. Later, Bret Hart, of course, had to overshadow Owen Hart again and beat Yokozuna at WrestleMania 10, where everybody came out, lifted Bret on their shoulders, like, yeah, my man, you did it. And Owen Hart kind of stood where Bret Hart wanted to welcome Owen Hart into the ring, but Owen Hart kind of looked at him and he was like, you son of a biscuit. You're doing this again. This is why I hate you. This is why do you got to do, like, I don't know. And it was pretty cool the kind of way they kind of got that going. And the two they fought back and forth, multiple pay-per-views. Owen cost Bret Hart the championship time and time again. And I don't know, it kind of got me to think about maybe this Dominic Mysterio and Rey Mysterio kind of feel. Of course, before Dominic Mysterio got, injured. I think I talked about this our last podcast on Friday, where it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to have your dad there, kind of have family where you can absolutely fight against each other, and it doesn't matter where it is. It doesn't matter where you guys are in terms of your wrestling careers or promoting or your storylines. If you guys, infiltrate each other's space, it's gonna sell. It's gonna make money. People want to see that match between, the dirty Dom, and you have the deadbeat father Rey Mysterio, the luchador, the legend, the man, the myth, the legend, Rey Mysterio. So people are going to tune into that. So definitely something that I think that WWE kind of, adopted in terms of this Dominic Mysterio and Rey Mysterio kind of promos. Jeff Jarrett and the Blue Blazer, and they were tag team champions. And ultimately, the death of Owen Hart impacted the world wrestling industry a lot more. You notice that when Shawn Michaels made his entrance, where he like came down from the zip line from the ceiling. I guess Vince tried it a dozen times to try to make some, like, whenever there was going to be an incident or whenever there was going to be a certain promo or like something that involved heavy machinery or stuff like that. Vince McMahon was always willing to kind of put himself on the line to kind of test it first. So that's something that obviously they did have a settlement go outside the court, where I think the widow of Owen Hart got like, I think $18+ million, which they absolutely deserve. She used it to create the Owen Hart Foundation. Now you see AEW have the Owen Hart Tournament Cup, and Owen Hart, definitely one of the best wrestlers in the world. Love that they're still honoring his name to this day. Definitely 110%. Crazy. He fell 78 that he's 78 feet. The TV, honestly, the TV viewers weren't able to see it. The incident, the camera went off the crowd, and who else but good old Jim Ross. Good old Jim Ross was able to kind of tell the crowd, keep them informed about what happened, and ultimately, at the end of it. And Jim Ross said this himself. This was the worst call that he's ever had to be on. And then you had Jerry King Lawler come up and he'd be like, "It's not good. It's not good." Owen Hart tragically fell, blunt force trauma, internal bleeding, passed away. Passed away at the age of 34. So, like I said, love Owen Hart. Love the way that he had made such an impact and a legacy. In terms of WWE, he will be missed. No one will ever be able to do it like Owen Hart did. So, definitely, loved Owen Hart for that. Definitely wish the best for his family, you know. So, yeah, just not, we're totally running out of time. Absolutely out of time, actually. I have, like, a couple minutes, but well, maybe we'll go overtime. I know Emran's show, the soccer podcast, is coming up, so I won't try to keep you guys too much. Just want to give you guys my power rankings. We'll end on a good note. We talked about our Memorial Monday, and last week we talked about Eddie Guerrero, and it was still, and now Owen Hart. I don't know how I'm keeping this together. So let's go on into our last and final break, and just stay with me. We'll talk real quick about our professional wrestling power rankings. So hey, don't go anywhere.